Our annual theme, emergence. Man, tell you what, if you haven't seen the past two talks that Dr. Peter's done, you have got to see them again and again. They've been brilliant, okay? And it's all about this annual theme about emergence. How is life emerging? How do things emerge? How do they grow? And today we're going to explore, well, how does life work? Did you take that course when you were in elementary school? This is how life works. Did you take it in high school? This is how life works. What about college? Have you taken it yet? Me neither. No, I'm kidding. And it's all about how does life work? The creative process. And we can actually understand how it, capital I-T, works, how life works. The whole process. And I think also just as important that, if not more important, is that it does, in fact, work. Without any exceptions. So, we're going to continue on this journey that Dr. Peter has so beautifully set us up for. So, the second Sunday in January, she talked about spirit. She talked about cause and what that is and what it's not. And then last week, she talked about soul. This is our teaching symbol. You see it everywhere. It's up here. It's everywhere on campus. It's in all of our materials. And she talked about law. And I loved how she brought in very clearly that we could switch out the word law with principle. And today, we're going to continue on the body. And I'm not talking about the human body. I'm talking about physical body, the matter, the effect, the form of things. Right? So Petra spent some time over the past 2 weeks making clear and differentiating between law, principle, and the spirit, right? And she talked about how spirit directs, spirit guides, and law, the principle, executes. And because spirit guides and directs, and the principle executes, creation is the result, the form, the body. Everything that we see is the effect of it, of those two things. And as she said last week, this is the Trinity. One could call it the Holy Trinity. It's the thing itself, it's the way it works, and what it does. And if you haven't been reading the first 4 introductory chapters to the Science of Mind, by goodness, read them. So, one of the ways that Ernest Holmes reduces this into the simplest of forms is with this quote. He says, to reduce the whole thing to its simplest form, it's this. Whatever one reflects into mind, that's the capital M, the thing itself, mind, spirit, tends to take form. Tends. There's a word in there. He didn't say guaranteed. He says tends to take form. So we're going to explore that a little bit today too. How do we up the ante and ensure that it takes form? That which we want to be the form. Right? So it's through the creative process. And Ernest Holmes was asked this question. He was asked, what do thoughts act upon to produce form, and how does this process work? Since he's not here, I thought I would share what he said. And he says, his answer is, thoughts act upon the universal subjective mind. Universal subjectivity. That means it's subject to the universal, the creative medium. Form, he says, is an effect of that action. So, the consequence of cause and effect is this. First, it's pure intelligence. Mind, capital M. It's pure intelligence. Next, an inner movement of this pure intelligence as an idea. Then, the movement of the idea upon substance. creative medium. And finally, the passing of substance into form. Okay, well, did y'all catch that answer? Well, how about another way? In this sequence, the only self-conscious movement is at the beginning. That's the key. The only self-conscious is at the beginning. I have a conscious thought. I am placing that thought where? Everywhere. Present. Conscious thought. I am the thing itself. Consciously having a thought. That's the beginning. Here's the key. Everything else is automatic. Everything else is automatic, and then everything else is an effect. So I consciously have the thought. From that point on, I'll share some more tidbits in this process, but everything else is automatic. If you could just get that takes a lot of pressure off of me, the human Karen, right? Everything else is automatic and everything else is an effect. So even the idea is the effect of the intelligence which creates it, and the form is the result of this idea. And again, the starting point of all creation is pure intelligence. That's who and what we are. So, I love this, and it's in caps. When he does it in caps in the textbook, he's screaming it at us. This is important. Peter would say, do you see? Here it comes. We do not create. We use the power of the one mind, which creates for us. When I have to tell myself all the time, because guess what? I'm like, Karen has to create this. Oh, how in the heck is Karen going to create this? No, I have to remind myself, no. I'm using the power of the thing itself, the whole enchilada, everything it is that knows how to create these galaxies and everything else right down to, I don't know how it creates a rose, it knows how to create it. And so it creates it for us. And I constantly, when I think something's too big to occur, I say, no. I'm in the creative process, creation. Whether it's the vast body of the cosmos or the shirt, well, I don't have one on, I have a jacket. The shirt you have on, it's all part of it, right? It's the effect of the intelligence operating through this law, this principle, this creative medium, whatever we choose to call it. And what this does is it proves, as clear as can be, that there is a power in the universe which knows. How is it proved? Every single time. Look around you. Everything has been using this creative process. Everything. Everything. So there's this law, there's this principle which does, and the creation which Holmes says corresponds. And I like that word a lot. That's a new word for me to sort of play with. It corresponds. Corresponds. Oh, what is that? I had to look it up. Correspond. Because creation doesn't respond, it corresponds. And corresponds means to be similar or equivalent in character, quantity, origin, structure, or function. So it's corresponding to the thought that I have consciously. Wow. I have essentially the best correspondence I could ever want that brings the news, the good news to me in my life all the time. I'm in partnership with it. And everyone's using it. It's just, do we know how it works? And the more we understand how it works, the more we can work it. Anybody ever decide to take up something new, or want to play the piano, or paint a picture, or be a doctor? Have you ever learned anything? A few of you have. The others, let's talk afterwards. I was reminded of this last night. Think of one of your homework assignments this week is to start writing down everything that you've learned pretty well. and now are using in your life. You learned mathematics at one point. You learned addition. You've been using it. Use it right now. What's 1 + 1? Oh, how did y'all know that? Was there a time where that seemed even challenging? I want you to write down everything that you've learned to do and you've gotten better at it and you're using it more. And sometimes you actually don't even have to think about it because it's so automatic, right? So I want you to know that we can learn how life works and use it in our lives. Because the good news is, too, we do not really create. Again, we're using this creative power that is. And relatively speaking, each of us is a creative power in our own life. And so far as our thought goes, there is something that goes with it. It goes with the thought that has the power to bring forth into manifestation the thing thought of. Wow. I love that thought. And so we don't actually need to know how, completely and fully how this all works. We don't really even have to attempt to fully understand it. We just have to know that whatever this process of creation is, we find that it's like always an inner thought process. And how we hold it, and how we sustain that thought, and how we maintain that. And I'll get to that in a second. And keep this in mind, that Spirit is making all these things out of itself. Whew, that takes a lot off of me. Ernest Holmes, I love this quote. He says, everything comes into being without effort. I don't think the rose is struggling to unfold. Everything comes into being without effort. And when we exert ourselves, we are not in accord with the creative spirit and the way in which it works. The impulse of the Spirit to move must be caused by a desire to express what it feels itself to be. It's this desire, beauty, form, color, life, love, power. That's its desire, is to express that. Say it again. Beauty, form, color, life, love, power. It is wanting to express. It desires to express. And all things else we find in the manifest universe are attributes of the Spirit and are caused to spring into being through the Word because Spirit wants to enjoy itself. So I sometimes say, if you don't want to really know how this works for yourself, want to know how it works for Spirit, so that Spirit can enjoy itself much more. To have that experience of itself through you, through me, through us, right? And I look back on this because it was 2007 when I started hearing first about this thing called the creative process. I was like, what? And I'm telling you, it was so confusing. I didn't know what was up with it. I'm like, I'm never going to learn how to do this. And I had to let that thought go eventually. Homework assignment, write down all the things you've learned how to do, put them into your life, and you're doing them better than when you first started, right? And I think of this. I started with parking spaces. Did y'all? I call it rock star parking. Rock star parking, go have that parking space right there. And then all of a sudden, there was the parking space. Shit, look at the parking space. It's right here. Now, sometimes I'd start off, rock star parking. Yeah, I'd drive around. Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to get that parking space. I knew it. And I had to park way back yonder. But I think of parking spaces. Financial abundance, the most I've ever had during a recession. Finding my soulmate. Having a child in my life to love, nurture, and connect with. Traveling around the world with people I love. Experiencing the awe of nature and taking photographs. And I could tell you my list is so long, from parking spaces to what seems to be big, like finding your soulmate finally at 49. That felt big. You know, just being able to be myself and have freedom. That feels big. But it's been a process of learning how this life works and putting it into practice. So the great news is we are chemists in the laboratory of the infinite. What shall we produce? Think of that. You are a chemist in the laboratory of the infinite. There's no limitations to what you can combine, put together in a beaker, and go, boom. That's a good place to remember. So, in this creative process and understanding these steps, the 3 steps, there's only 3, is that the first 2 steps are basically instantaneous. I want you to hear this. The first 2 steps in our laboratory are basically instantaneous. The thought, the causal thought, knowing what that is, the causal thought, and then placing. It's such an interesting word because place feels outside me. So I don't know if it's putting, placing, I don't know. But we'll say placing. Placing the thought in the creative medium, the law, the principle. Boom, it's instantaneous. 3rd step. Is that instantaneous? Well, the thing is now it actually has to grow in the space-time continuum. That's where we live. It has to grow. And so we've got to sort of understand the law of growth. And many times, we're not very patient. I want it now. Wait, I want it now. I said now. And the now is right now, and it's not here. And so this stuff must not work. I'm just going to give up. We want it now, right? We have to cultivate it because we are in the space-time continuum. So let's cultivate that thought. We have to engage with it. And I don't know about you, but where I can tend to go first is I engage with the plan of the how. Well, how this is going to manifest. How? I want to get into the how. Now, how. And so that's just the wrong place for me to go. I stay on the what? The thought, the end result, the thought. And I want to nurture that as it's growing. And not be impatient. And to know, I now just constantly tell myself, this is a delay, not a denial. This is a delay, not a denial. Got that from Michael Beckwith. This is a delay, not a denial. Oh, wow, had to wait 2 years to go to South Africa with some beloveds. It's a delay, not a denial. Last year, all the plans, go see the puffins. Y'all, I know I'm into wildlife, but the puffins in the hide to get really close to little flying, they're this big. They're really little, so you need to get close. Puffins. Had it all planned, drove all the way to Canada, got on, and the day before, canceled. Spent all that money, got out there, can't get on the island, too many swells. I went, that's a delay, not a denial. Last week at 7 a.m. promptly, like the biggest concert ticket you could, concert with Lady Gaga or anybody you could imagine, I was at my computer at 7 a.m. Because to get that ticket, they go in like 30 minutes for 3.5 months of going to see the puffins. And I got my tickets. And I know, and you know what? If the weather's bad and I don't get to go, it's going to be a delay. But now I have more opportunities. I got an opportunity in Scotland now to see the puffins. See? So it's not limited. I'm in this limitless, I'm a chemist in the laboratory of the infinite. We think, oh, it didn't happen? It's never going to happen. No. I have to be with the process. I have to engage with the process. I can't give up and say I'm never going to see puffins up close. I keep engaging. The whole point of life is for the intangible being to become and to express, right? It's an infinite being. It's an infinite expression. And it's not, I made a manifestation, here's the manifestation, now it's done. No, life is constantly ongoing, unfolding. And within this rhythm of this constant thing that's unfolding all the time is birth and death. Death and birth, even that is part of it. It's a never-ending, I call it the never-ending eternal gobstopper. So now I'm a chemist with a piece of candy in my mouth, in my laboratory of the infinite. Businesses rise and fall, we've seen it. But that doesn't mean that that stops. And it doesn't mean once we have our soulmate, we have to stop manifesting. No. Right? So, the thing itself, how it works, what it does, how we engage with it, well, we can't forget about our theme. It's called emergence, right? So, the thing to do is to plant the seed of the end result. Always the end result. Just forget about every step between here and the end. Plant the seed of the end result. Now, some people come to Peter and me and our practitioners, they say, well, here's what I want treatment for. I want a spiritual mind treatment for. I'm going to be centered no matter what happens. Okay, you can have that. That's great. But there's a whole nother side of the same coin. But what do you want to have happen while you're staying centered no matter what? Give me one end result of something you want. I think the biggest challenge for some of us is to know what we want. And the ones of us who know what we want and go for it, we need to help the ones that really don't know what they want. Spend time. What is the end result of something that you want? What is that end result? And when you have it, stick to it. And please don't spend the time obsessing on the process, the steps, and the how. Just take the next step that you feel drawn to. You don't have to know the next 49. Hold that end result. Stick to it no matter what. And if the thing is, well, it's not here now, it must be something wrong with my consciousness. I want you to hear my voice and say, shut that up. There's nothing wrong with your consciousness because what is there? Is there anything wrong with the infinite mind? Consciousness itself? Well, that's who we are. We're the thing itself. So, and if we see it in nature, if there's a storm and the branch falls off, okay, the tree's not dead, it's still growing, it's still emerging. We keep going. Stick to the end result. The end result. Let it unfold. Let it emerge. Right? Let it emerge. And so that brings in the law of growth. Now with Peter's help, we can call it the principle of growth. The law of growth. Ernest Holmes tells us how to help this emerge, to allow it to grow, to invite it to grow. He says, if we have a strong picture, not my brain, this is inside of all of me. If we have a strong picture or mental concept of what we desire, end result, and hold to that mental equivalent regardless of circumstances or conditions. So no matter what comes up, no matter what roadblock, no matter what throws you off your road, no matter if the puffin trip gets canceled, whatever it is, right? Regardless of the circumstances or conditions, we must sooner or later manifest according to the concept. So as long as we hold the end result in time through this process, the evolution, the principle, there comes a moment of birth, meaning there comes a moment where it comes into the physical form in our life. Because that's the way this stuff works. That's the nature of life itself. That's the law, the principle of creation. We're using it. So hold it. Hold the end result no matter what comes up. There may be times you don't want to share your end result with anyone. Please don't share it with the naysayers in your life. Here's this. I'm going to win a contest with the puffin picture, right? That I take. I didn't even have to say where. Whatever, I'm making this up right now, but the end result. I'm the grand winner of a photographic contest with a puffin. I don't have to say by 11:18 a.m. taken on the island in Canada, right? I just the end result. If that's what I want and that's the end result. And no matter what, the camera could break, I run out of money, universe, don't listen. And, whatever. You see? I don't care what it is. Now I can't fly. I have no idea. I just know that's the end result. And I'm not going to tell a lot of people other than y'all about it. But don't tell your naysayers in your life that's going to say that's never going to happen. Keep it to yourself. And the truth is, this law of growth, it's all inherent. You can't stop yourself. You can't stop it. You can't stop the things. You can't stop your life from growing. We can't, no more than we can stop the seed from growing. We can do that a little bit, can't we? There is one way you could stop a seed from growing, isn't there? Yeah, dig it up. Right? Dig it up. Throw it away. Stomp on it. Squish it. Throw it. Goodness, wrap it in tin foil so it could never happen even if it's made it through the garbage again, So there are some ways. So the key is we're not going to stand over the seed and go, grow. Come on, grow. You're not growing. What's wrong with you? You're not a good seed. We're not going to say, sunflower seed, okay, I planted. You're not growing because you don't have 2 stripes. You wouldn't do that. Doesn't matter who we are, our background, who we come from, what our race, it doesn't matter. We're not going to stand over and go, well, you're not good enough. That's why it's not growing. And we're not going to go impatient and go, grow. We're going to plant the seed and we're going to nurture it. And then, man, all of a sudden, it feels like all of a sudden we have a sunflower plant, right? And in the meantime, we hold the intention of sunflower plant. Hold it, no matter what. Hold the intention. Ernest Holmes tells us that this creative process that we use is like a mirror. So we're going to hold the intention. We're going to hold up the image within our whole self. We're going to hold that object inside ourselves, just like we hold an object in front of a mirror. And it will, this image in the mirror, image back the exact same size of what we put in front of it, doesn't it? Right? We hold a thought in our mind, we hold a thought in our whole being, and it will image back into matter the exact likeness of the thought. And we got to hold it there, this image. And we have to hold it there with faith and expectancy, with enthusiastic conviction. How's your enthusiastic conviction? And with undying trust. We must trust this process. We must trust the universe. We hold it in front of the mirror the whole time. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Maybe you do need to ask someone that you do trust to hold it with you. Will you hold this image with me until it actually occurs? I'm holding it in front of the mirror because the only thing that can hinder this process is you. Because it is you who reflects the image in the mirror. You're the only one that can hold this image until it shows itself. Don't let go of your dream. Don't let go of your end result. And by the way, you don't have to just have one going at the same time. How many do you want? We're in this limitless laboratory of the infinite. We're chemists playing in this laboratory. Right? So this is how we cultivate it. This is how we fertilize it. We hold it with enthusiastic conviction. But here's the rub. I said the one person that could get in the way is you. We cannot make affirmations and denials for 15 minutes and spend the other 23 hours and 45 minutes denying the thing that we have affirmed and affirming the thing that we have denied and obtain the results we seek. We've got to send out the word, and it sets in motion the power. But if we begin to think the opposite thing, it gets the word as soon as it is the thought. It'll neutralize it. So hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. And when you see it start to grow and start to emerge, move in that direction. All right? And the great news is all of this is already inherent. So to wrap all of this up, I love this quote by Holmes that says, could we but comprehend the fact that there is a power that makes things directly out of itself by simply becoming the thing it makes. Could we but grasp this greatest truth about life and realize that we are dealing with a principle, scientifically correct and eternally present, we could accomplish whatever it is possible for us to conceive. Life externalizes on the level of our thought. This is where thy will be done lives, breathes, and moves. It's thy will. I have the thought. I hold the thought. I don't let anything come in between me, no matter the situation, the circumstances. I hold it with enthusiastic conviction and faith and trust, because I know that this is the way it works, and by doing that, it must be made manifest. Because this is the way life works. This is the way it is. And we can absolutely learn how to put it into practice and use in our lives, because we already have. And so it is.